welcome. We're finally at the training and it's so great. I'm so happy that you're here and ready to learn kind of how to kick your day off in a way that's much better and much more effective and honestly just makes you feel better than the way that you're doing it now. I want you to think about the way that you currently start your day off. How does your morning progress? What are the events that actually take place? I'll walk you through kind of an example of the way that I would start my days off prior to implementing this new technique and this new routine that I'm going to show you. So first thing that would happen is my alarm would go off. And the first thing that I would do is hit snooze, and then probably hit snooze again and again and again, to the point where I would actually schedule time in the wake-up process for my snoozing. So I wouldn't set my alarm for the time that I actually wanted to wake up. I'd set it for half an hour before so I could keep hitting snooze, because for some reason that seemed like a good idea. That felt better to me than waking up when my alarm went off. So after I would finally hit the final snooze button, I would be checking my messages and my emails to see what I'd gotten from work, to see what if there was any fires that came up overnight that I needed to address, right? So then when I would finally make it through the list of burning houses and issues that needed to be addressed, I would make my coffee. And while I was making my coffee, I would switch from the texts and the emails to the socials, right? So now I'm flipping through social media, and I would be looking at all of these different profiles, looking at all my friends and see what's going on. I would transition from looking at those social media profiles and everything to finish drinking my coffee and everything, and I go shift to the shower. Typically I'd throw on some news, either through a podcast or actually throw on mainstream media news, whatever the case may be. I put on something to keep me informed with the things that were happening today and the things that had transpired in the last 24 hours, kind of a deal. Keep myself up to speed going into work. After that, I would kiss my wife and my kids goodbye, leave for the morning, and I would be off to work for the day. Does that sound any bit familiar with yourself? I imagine that it does. And you may be asking yourself, well, so what? I've operated this way, and I actually do really well at work, and I have a great relationship with my kids, and things are going well. Why would I adjust it? I enjoy my morning routine where I get to, I have a little bit of time in the morning where I'm sipping on coffee and able to relax and just flip through mindlessly social media before I have to really put my mind to work for the day. And I get it. Obviously, I get it. I told you my story and that was it, right? So what I want to do is I want to go back through all of that that we just talked about. I want to go through that whole list of items, kind of break down why it's not serving you, okay? So let's start from step number 1, right? The alarm and the snoozing actions. So this is very typical. It's so typical that it's actually built in to every single alarm on your phone. Every alarm that you have will have a snooze function in it, because that's how much we desire it. If you have an actual physical alarm clock that's not on your phone, I know. I'm showing my true age now. If you have one of those, they'll have a physical button on it for snoozing. That's how prominent this is. So I know that this is a real issue. Be outside of my own anecdotal experience, you can look at what people are buying and what people demand of their services, and it's a snooze button. So why is if it's so prominent and so common, why is it not desirable? Why is it not serving you? Well, let's look at it from this perspective. So number 1 is when you set an alarm, whether you know it or not, what you're doing is you're making a promise. You're making like a small contractual agreement with yourself saying, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at this time. And so when you wake up the next morning and you snooze, basically you're pushing the lines of that contractual agreement, and really you're breaking it because you said, I'm going to wake up at this time, and now you're not. So you're starting off your foot by not keeping your word. And now you might think, oh, okay, that's a little bit of a stretch. Okay, that's fine. It's true that you're not following through with what you said you were going to do, and it's can be indicative of the way that you interact with things throughout the day. The more that you take the small engagement seriously, the more that you take the big one seriously. And the more that people see you take the small one seriously, the more they know that they can trust and rely on you. Building trust and reliability in the view of others is paramount for anything that you want to do. I don't care if you're trying to start your own podcast or if you're trying to get a promotion at your 9-to-5 office job. That reliability and that trustworthiness matters. It's how we effectively communicate and effectively establish relationships over periods of time. And so you can't really do that. You can't build those relationships, and you can't put somebody in a position of increased responsibility if they don't have you don't have their trust, or they don't have your trust, and you don't have their trust. And it's the same thing with relationships. And so we want to start our day off by following through on our word. When we sit down, we're going to set the alarm for the time that we actually want to set it for, not the time that kind of builds in the snooze time. Okay, that's number one. You're violating your own word essentially. So that's why that's not really serving you. Also, there's like an energy component to it, and I don't mean like woo woo spiritual energy. I mean like actual, like your energy can be kind of messed up if you're sitting there and you're snoozing and you're putting your body back into this cycle, this really rapid of sleep wake cycle. You end up feeling really exhausted. It doesn't give you more restful sleep. Your eyes are closing and you're kind of falling out of that waking consciousness, but you're not actually going into deep sleep where your body's gaining rest and your mind's gaining rest. So you're not really doing anything beneficial for yourself. If anything, you're expanding this roller coaster of consciousness cycles that is more detrimental to you than it is anything else. So there's a real energy component to it as well. And the third thing about getting up with your alarm is it ties into kind of the first two. It ties into the energy, and it ties into the following through on your word. And it's your first victory of the day. And in so doing, creating that first victory of the day, you are building momentum. You've started momentum from the minute that you've actually gotten up, from the minute that you woke up. A lot of people will say, you'll hear people reference, make your bed. Because it's a small, easy first victory of the day. You build momentum and you're going from there. That's not where you start momentum. You start it when the alarm goes off. That is you're dashing your ability to be momentous, right? to really go push forward. And it's not saying that you can't, because you are, right? You've had successes and you do well. These are all areas where you can push forward and you can be even better, right? That's what we want to do. We want to enable better. So that's one way. And so I've told you all of the things that are kind of bad or not good with it, right? That with snoozing, and that, you know what, you should get up when your alarm goes off. Well, that sounds very much like good advice, right? You should get up when your alarm goes off. And if I left it at that, it would still be good advice. But it doesn't really help you to take advantage of some of the stuff that's out there. I want to enable you with the most success possible when you leave here. I want this to really mean something. And so there are actual ways to go about increasing your likelihood to actually get up when your alarm goes off. So, number one, we'll start with the kind of fun exterior stuff, and then we'll really dive in. So, number one is they have these kind of cool, fun alarm clocks that you can get that will have like a helicopter kind of wheel inside of it, and when your alarm goes off, the the little helicopter spin wheel. If you've ever seen like the little handles that have a pull ripcord on it, and then it sends the little soaring circle spinny thing up into the air and it flies around, then you gotta go grab it and you can put it back on and you can do it all over again. This is essentially the same thing. It's just, instead of the pull ripcord thing on it, it is that ripcord is the alarm. The alarm going off is the cue that sends, that whirs that circle up, and it sends it soaring. And your alarm won't go off until you find that little circle fly thing, and then you put it back on your alarm. So it's just kind of a fun way to embrace this type of change. So it's cool. It works on many psychological levels of going through the process of buying something and bringing something new into your room, which is full of nothing but habits on habits on habits that are built kind of to lead you to where you've got now, which is snoozing, right? And so you add this new thing like, oh, this is change. Your mind's recognizing change, and then you establish new behaviors with this new thing, then that helps. And the thing itself actually promotes the type of behavior that you want. So this new alarm clock, this new thing, promotes the new behavior, getting up when your alarm goes off. And so you build that new habit, that new mental routine around that. Another more simple way, if you don't want to go make that kind of purchase or have deal with that kind of madhouse, is that you can just move your phone or your alarm clock to the other side of the room. And at the end of the night, you plug your phone in, you turn your alarm on, and it's on the other side. So you just have to get up and walk over to go turn it off. It's much easier, much more simple, a little less fun, but that's okay. To each their own. They have a bunch of different fancy alarm clocks and stuff. They have ones that have like essential oils that come out, and so it has a good smell, and with music that starts quietly and goes up as time progresses towards the time that you want to wake up at. I think those are all really cool too. I actually use an app. I think it's called Sleep Cycle. It should be like an orange little box. And it works really well for me in the sense that I can set a window for when I want to wake up. And so typically what I'll do is I say I want to wake up at 5 o'clock. And so what I'll do is I'll set my alarm for, if I have a hard line at 5, which I don't. If I have a hard line at 5, then I'll set my alarm from 4:30 to 5. And then what it does is that the app reads your sleep cycle, and so it tries its best to ascertain when you are in deep sleep versus when you're not. And it gives you like a sleep score percentage and everything off that, keeps a diary and all that good stuff. But the important part about this is that when you give it the space, that half an hour space to identify to wake you up, what you're doing is you're allowing it to choose when to start the alarm, because it will choose the time when you're in the lightest sleep. So if you're in deep REM sleep and then it's 4:30, right? And when your alarm cycle, your alarm period is open, it's not going to wake you up. If you stay in deep sleep for the next 15 minutes, it kind of waits until it starts to see you within that cycle start to rise up. And then it will wake you up when you're on the rise, rather than like bum rushing you out of bed with a jerk and a jolt and making you really feel unrested and having that shock and that not so great waking up feeling. It's worked really great for me. It's absolutely worth a shot. It's completely free. There's paid versions of it, but you can get it for free and it works perfectly fine. Okay, so now let's go a little bit deeper than the peripheral kind of external tools that we can use to help aid us, which all matter and are all super relevant. But when we want to go deeper, honestly, the biggest thing that made the impact for me was changing my mindset. I needed a reason to get up. right? And there, it can be kind of twofold, right? There can be, but I'm just going to focus on one, and this is what worked for me, is that I started getting up really early when I had a really, really good personal reason and motivation that I was tied to. So not something, not work, that actually didn't work very well for me. I mean, it's not. I was always on work on time, and my alarm always went off, but I would snooze. When I started waking up on my own, in conjunction with my alarm, right? When I would wake up early, even earlier than I would need to for work by hours, right? So like right now, my schedule is I need to be at work around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And that's from home. I remote work. And so what I want to do is I want to have several hours in the morning where I can dedicate towards things that I'm really passionate about. But I needed something that I was really passionate about, right? And so this is one of them. This is one of this type of training, what I'm providing, this information and these videos that facilitate these skills are one of the main reasons that I wake up so gosh darn early. And it doesn't feel like drudgery. It's there's a feeling as if I can't wait to get out of bed. Like the alarm goes off, I'm like, yes, finally, the sleep is over and I can get back to it. Right? I'm so excited to deliver to create this content, to sell this content, to deliver the content. Like it matters so much to me because I think it really makes a difference, and it's exciting. I love it. I'm passionate about it, and so finding that reason, and I bring all this up because it doesn't have to be your work, right? It's not for me, but it can be. It can be whatever reason. You want to get up and you want to watch some training videos for something that you do at work, so that way you can become even more valuable to your employer. That's great. If that's the motivation, then get after it. If it's because you want to start learning how to be a carpenter, you want to learn how to make a table, get up in the morning, right? And maybe you're not going to saw things at 5 in the morning, but you can absolutely watch videos and learn kind of the tricks of the trade and how to do it. That's where you kind of take on your new skill adoption time and you research different tools and things that you might need. This is all time for you to kind of get amped and get motivated and things of that nature. And so that is kind of like the part one. That's our look at the alarm clock and getting up when your alarm goes off. Okay, number 2. Emails. So we talked about this a little bit when I had brought it up initially, but with the emails, you're almost always putting out fires with these work emails that have come in overnight. And it's very rarely are you going to get the email that comes in. It's like, hey, you did really great. I'm so happy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's just like negative reviews, right? You're not going to get a boatload of positive reviews to every one negative review. It's usually a 1 to 10 is kind of the typical rule. 10 negative reviews for one, or out of 10 people going and going to a restaurant, one will leave a positive review, something like that. The ratios aren't good for people going out of their way to leave positive reviews. When people email you from work outside of work hours, it's typically not to be like, hey man, great job. It's to say, hey, this didn't happen, this needed to happen, make sure that you do this. And so when you're dealing with that, and the same thing with text messages, so all the same, that when you start your day off, like those things aren't going to change, right? That fire's still going to be there when you get to work. So let's maybe not handle that right now. Right, and the next one, so you have the emails, and you shift to the social media, and that's how you're enjoying your coffee, you brewed it, and you're sitting down, and you're able to drink your coffee, and you're flipping through social media, checking on your friends. Well, what do you see, right? I'll tell you what I see. I see political posts where everyone's complaining about something. I see personal posts where people are either overly elated about something or are really, really mad about something. And then I see people's fake lives, right? Plastered up, like nothing but the greatest parts. And so you see a buddy that's on vacation over here at this island, and this other buddy who's going up and hiking these mountains, and you're going in through your 6th month of diligent work in the office, right? And so what all of those things, I mean, you can look at those and you can be motivated like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm going to plan that vacation, I'm going to get on, I'm going to do that. But it's all of these things they're not likely to produce a lot of positive thoughts. It's going to be a lot of challenging thoughts, a lot of things that you have to overcome. When you're dealing with this, you're seeing all the negative stuff. It's just like an expansion on the political side. It's just like an expansion of the news, which is goes into that next part too. What are you getting from the news, right? You're getting all of these really hyper focused negative stories, and that's because that's what people watch. You want to know what's going on. You want to be aware. You don't want to be naive to the world around you, but getting a constant feed of negative information isn't beneficial. It doesn't serve you. And you might say, well, I only listen for 15 minutes in the morning and that's it. And I just want to know what's going on. Well, that's fine, but maybe don't do it first thing. Maybe don't do it in tandem with the emails that you just had to put the fires out from, and then the social media where everyone's life looks perfect or everyone's complaining about how the world's going to burn down, and then you watch the news where the world looks like it's burning down because they only show you the negative things. These are they all kind of work in tandem together to create this kind of ball or weight or anchor of negativity that you're going to be bringing in with you from home to the office. This is before you get in the car. So you're priming your mind around all of these things as you get into your car, and then you're traveling in this 15 to 2,500 pound vehicle traveling at 60 miles an hour down the road amongst a bunch of other people that are doing the same exact thing, and everyone's on edge, gripping their steering wheels and honking their horns. Like you're entering into that with all that negativity there. And then you're leaving that and you're going into the space where you're going to be with the people where you produce the money to provide for your family, and the people that you spend the most time with, whose relationships that you establish with are going to have the biggest impact on your career progression in that company, right? So you're really setting yourself up in a particular way when you live your life that way. And I'm just saying that there is another option, right? So we went through the alarm clock and kind of how we address that, right? And so how do we address all of these other negative things? Well, I'm going to give you like the 3-in-1 package step, and it's really, really, really easy. I bet you might already know what it is. When you get up, don't pick your phone up. You have a million clocks around your house. You don't need to carry your phone around with you. Just put it down for a minute. Wake up, get out of bed. And if you follow the steps from the alarm clock, then you're up when your alarm goes off. So you're already starting off with a victory. Keep your phone down. Leave the TV off, right? You're eliminating social media. You're eliminating the emails and the messages. And I'm not saying like they're not there. Sure, yeah, they might be there, but they'll be there when you get to work. They'll be there. It's okay. They're not going anywhere. The fires won't burn out. And shoot, you know what? Maybe they will. Maybe some of them will. Maybe, you never know. It's happened to me. So, and you're not subjecting yourself to the news. And all of that is accomplished by not doing things. So I'm not even asking you to do something. I'm asking you to not do something. Just leave your phone there. And so I know that's really hard to do. I even struggle with it sometimes, knowing everything that I know. But I'll tell you what you need to do and to be successful, what I needed to do to be successful, and this is I needed something else to do. I couldn't just not do something. Selling you on don't do X doesn't really work. Like, yeah, I know, I shouldn't do that, but what am I going to sit down and stare at the wall? There's an opportunity here. And what I do, and what I think is extremely beneficial, is that when you go down to make your coffee, because I will not take that away from you. I will not take your coffee away from you. What I want you to do is I want you to go down and make your coffee or your tea or whatever, however you enjoy your mornings. I want you to do that. I want you to leave your phone off to the side. You can bring it with you, but just leave it. Just don't look at it. I know it's hard, but you can do it. I know that you can do it. You're here. I know that you can do it. You're open to the change. You're up for it. So when you're there and you got your coffee, I want you to have a piece of paper, notebook, and a pen. And I want you to write down just one thing, one simple thing, what you're grateful for. It could be anything. It's an amazingly powerful tool. And when you talk to any resilience expert or coach or, facilitator that's worth their snuff, is they will say, you have to write 3 things, you have to spend 21 minutes, blah, 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 blah. You have to do this because that's when the chemicals actually start kicking in your brain. So this is what the real facts are, right? This is where the real impact comes in, especially for you right now if you've never done this before. One thing. I want you to write one thing. The number of things that you write does not matter. The duration of time you spend in it kind of does matter. And so when you write down the one thing that you're grateful for, be simple. I mean, so if you have the ability to reflect in a little bit deeper and to pull out something that's really meaningful and really personal and close to you, something small that your wife or kids might have done for you or your husband did, whatever the case may be, if you're able to pull that out and to write that down, like, my wife made an amazing dessert for us last week. It took her 3 hours to make it, that kind of thing. And it was amazing. That's great. And it can be that simple. If you have a harder time coming up with a reason to be grateful, an aspect of gratitude, what you could do is, and what I find myself doing oftentimes in tandem with this, and actually what I'll do is I'll use these things before I even get to the coffee with the notebook and the pen. What I'll do is I'll do it almost straight off the bat. If I'm getting out of bed, especially, I'm maybe feeling motivated, but there's still kind of like okay, all right, gotta wake up. I start immediately identifying things that I can be grateful for then. And I'll go general, like, oh my gosh, like, sometimes for me, getting out of bed, it's hard because it's like cold. And it's cold because the AC will be on. And I have a blanket over the top of me and I'm really comfortable in bed. And so when I think to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, how blessed am I? How amazing of a life do I have where it could be 90 degrees outside and it could be freezing cold in my house to the point where I have a blanket pulled over me and I don't want to get out of bed in the morning because it's too cold outside of my blanket. Like, somebody made this blanket, probably in another country, and then that had to get shipped overseas here and then put in probably Amazon's, shipment warehouse. And then I had to find it, order it, and then somebody had to deliver it here. I mean, you could break this down to the finest minute detail to be like, oh, I'm so happy that gasoline exists because that allowed for it to get on the plane to come over. I'm really happy also that somebody found out how to create a plane and how to fly, and that somebody figured out how to make an engine so that vehicles can move, and somebody designed the roads and so that these trucks have a way to go to get to me, and then they built concrete and somebody had to figure that, like, all of this is done. All I did is I woke up and I, one day, and I was like, I want a blanket. I want it. And it's sent to me. There's so many things through that you can be grateful for. I can just be grateful. I'm so happy that I have air conditioning. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. You might not have AC. Maybe you're grateful that you have the blanket. Maybe you're grateful that there's hot water being pumped into your house. But the important part of that is the next step. When you say why. I'm grateful for that because it took somebody really smart sitting down trying to solve this problem to do it. Them solving that problem has made the world a better place for so many of us. My life is, improved dramatically because of these things. And when you spend the time in the why, by the time you get to the end of the why, your mind's gonna start shifting, and you're just gonna feel like, even right now when I'm doing it, I feel like lighter and I feel happier and better. It's an incredible feeling. I'm so happy. And it's something that I practice every day. And that's before I even get to the gratitude journal. Now, that can be your gratitude thought, and that can be it, and that's fine. But you can use that opportunity there to start off with your gratitude journal, to kind of lighten your mental load and to bring that positivity, to make sure that any of those chains to those anchors that we were talking about of negativity, if any of them are remaining from yesterday or thoughts of what you're going to have to deal with today, that's a really good tool to disconnect that chain from you. It's incredibly powerful, and I really, really hope that you pick that one up. The next one is, while you still have your notebook and pen out, maybe your coffee's done brewing now. You grab your coffee and you can sip, and you can kind of write down, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? And it's just simple. I'd like to be debt free. I'd like to live in a house that's within X amount of miles from the ocean or from the mountains. I would like to be in this position. Just like kind of envision it, but like write it in a way where it's real, where you change the tense where that's kind of current tense. Like, make it almost as if it's a journal entry in the notebook of yourself 5 years from now or 20 years from now, in your most perfect world, where somebody's coming in to do your laundry and you haven't cleaned a dish in 2 years. You know what I mean? It could be as ridiculous as that, but write it out. Write it out, because that builds on the positivity momentum that you've already built from the gratitude step. And what it does is that your brain starts to fire in that kind of direction now. You're reframing it to bring that in as the normality. To be like, yeah, no, those thoughts, those things can happen. Those things are normal. That's reason. It's not unreasonable to want $100,000 a month. It's not unreasonable to want to be $100 millionaire. And like you normalize this kind of thinking, and it could be anything. I use money examples because those are easy, but it could be anything. And so do that. It's called future casting. So do that. So do your gratitude. Do your future casting. And then probably the part where you take this positive energy and you transform it into real, tangible, like proactivity thinking, is writing down the big 3 for the day. Like, what are your big 3 ticket items? And these aren't like, oh, I've been needing to get an oil change on the car. I need to go put my clothes into the dry cleaner. I need to finish this report, whatever. No, the things that move the needle in your life that actually make a tangible difference between where you are now and where that utopian version of you is in the future. It can be finishing that resume, making that phone call, recording that content, whatever the case may be, whatever you want to do, signing up for classes. It's just, what is the step? What is the big tangible steps that you're going to make today in order to move the needle, to get yourself moving in that direction? All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's how I changed my entire life. I changed it one day at a time. And I changed it one day at a time by changing my mornings. And really, by changing the mornings, it was by altering all of 15 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, depending on how much time you spend in some of these activities. But really, if you're getting off when your alarm clock goes off and not snoozing, and you actually follow this, I've saved you probably 5 minutes in totality. So I've netted you 5 extra minutes, and I guarantee you, hands down, 100%, your day will be different. The positivity that you're going to bring in with you to work is going to change the way that you interact with the people around you. You're going to start seeing this positivity elsewhere. You're going to start seeing things you can be grateful for at work. And you're going to identify what people are doing in a way that you weren't able to do before. You're going to identify opportunities and with people, and look to engage. Different people are going to want to engage with you because they see that you're different. They see that you're bringing this positive energy, and it's going to help you establish different relationships, new relationships. It's an incredible thing. I absolutely guarantee you this will happen. It happened for me. It's happened for every individual that I've shared this with. And I've never shared it like this in this mass blast, this huge public push. But because of the results that I've seen, and because I've seen it work I've seen it work for me while I was in the military, leaving the military, entering COVID, going and then transitioning out of the military while the pandemic's hitting, and this still works. That's why I needed to share it with you guys, and I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you were willing to take in another perspective and to hopefully make some small changes, make that 15-minute change in the morning that will revolutionize your day and ultimately change your life. Now, if you liked this, if you liked what you saw here, and you thought that there was value here, there is more for you, I promise, and I know that you'll really appreciate it. At MattLastelliInc.com, there are additional trainings. There's if you want to dive full in on gratitude, we're building that out right now. If you want to learn how to change your mind, literally change your mind, not just change kind of the way that you think, like actually rewire your neural networks inside of your brain, you can do that through the training that I've made, through this video series. If you thought this was valuable, this is a drop in the bucket of how to change your mind. And how to change your mind is a drop in the bucket of the gratitude training. And that's the way that this is built. It's absolutely incredible, and I think you're really going to like it. So the courses are there available at MattLastelliInc.com. I hope that you go there and check it out. I cannot wait to see you guys again on the next one.